Welcome to Invincible Group. Today we have with us Dr. Sonia Sharma and a book which is called The Battle Ahead. Hello Dr. Sonia, how are you doing?
Hi Johnny, I'm good.
So let us start from the start. Tell us about your book.
Okay. The Battle Ahead is a story of a girl from Jammu, part of Jammu and Kashmir, and this is about her turmoil, about the effects of Article 370 she faced. So this is basically a love story, a romantic story from of a girl who 18 years of age who has gone outside of the state to study at IIM Indore, and there she falls in love with a boy, and once she comes back into her state, and then when she introduces him to her family, so that is when she understands, she comes to know about this provision of Article 370 in the state, where her family's against her getting married outside of the state, because she would be losing her right to stay in the state, to have her state subject revoked.
Okay.
So that is the story.
What is Article 370?
Article 370 restricted anybody from outside of the state who was not born in the state of Jammu and Kashmir to settle down over there, or to have the right for the state
land.
provisions.
Okay.
For the state provisions, not just the land, about all the provisions that the government provides, the state jobs and the colleges to the professional colleges, admission to the professional colleges, all sorts of government provisions were denied to the people who came outside of the state. So the provision actually provided for the women of the outside state who are marrying into the boys from that particular state. But the girls born in the state, they were denied the same privilege.
Okay.
So this actually stems out the gender inequality by its virtue. So that is what this book is all about.
Okay. So while I was reading the book, while I worked on this, so I wanted to know, we start with a love story. This girl, she comes out of the state and she's staying with her grandparents, and then she has a background to her life. So I want to know more about that. Like, what were you thinking when you thought of that background for her?
See, she comes from an army background. Her grandfather had been an army colonel. Her father was martyred as an army major. So this girl is basically belonging to the army background, where the father is, the grandfather had so much of allegiance to the place. He worships that place. He has tried defending his borders, of the state. So this is what I wanted to portray. It's not just about any girl, any person in the states. It's about the family of a martyr. What goes through their mind? What is the emotional quotient while growing up? So that is what I wanted to bring forward.
So we can say that it has two parallel concepts going together.
It has.
Like the first part is the background and the
Yes.
life of soldiers there,
Life
and
of
how
the
things have changed for them as well.
Of course.
And also we go parallel with this line where this Article 370 is there, then it is
Right.
not there, and then the years that this girl has spent before that and after that. And from what I was reading, I got to know that earlier she wasn't so curious about knowing about her state, but then later on, as she gets to know, she gets involved in that. So how involved have you been since you belong to J&K yourself?
See, it's something. It's very difficult to express actually, because when we are growing up as a child, as a young girl of 18 or 19, you are not really aware of those things. You just are focusing more on your studies, about things which are happening around. And Jammu being one of the places where I have not seen the gender bias in the society, in the civic society, it's not there. So it's only when the time for the marriage comes that bias just crops up. So for a whole lot of people, it doesn't really matter, because a whole lot of people have moved out of the state and shifted out, gone abroad, and it doesn't matter. But to her family, it mattered, because they come from a background where
it always matters to people who are there.
And then she is the sole heiress. So it mattered to them. So that is one part of the story. The other thing is that as a young adult, you're not really bothered about what is happening around your society.
Right.
But it's only once you start facing those things, facing the problems,
When you become a part of it.
when you become a part of it. So that is when it just happens. So you learn a lot. In this particular case, her grandfather wanted her to know what is happening around the state. It just did not happen suddenly. It was not a realization that she had. She was told. So these are the stories which had been told down the generations. And then there is an overview in the history of accession of the state to India. So that part I'm sure you remember.
Right.
So that is what is very alluring, and that is something which is very kind of educating for her. So that journey that she has with her grandfather, where he's narrating the things in the history which had been probably not written by the historians. The historians have missed that. And these are the things which we have heard through the elders in the family and whatever has happened during the accession. So those are the things which need to be brought out into the public domain. The way the king was treated, the way the accession happened, when the kind of stuff that went on between Sheikh Abdullah, between Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Maharaja Hari Singh. So Maharaja Hari Singh had been made into a scapegoat, and he hadn't gotten his rightful due in the history. So I think that is something which needs to be brought up. Though I could not go into much details as I would have wanted to, because this was more of a romance story. But then those are the things which need to be brought out. So once you bring them out, the discussion should start around them.
Right. So taking that a step forward, when we talk about Jammu and Kashmir, we generally focus just on Kashmir.
Right.
But Jammu and Kashmir has three parts to it: Jammu, Kashmir, and Ladakh.
Right.
So Ladakh is like the left out part. We don't even bring that to conversation.
Because Ladakh is a whole lot of an area, almost 50% of the area of the state, but the population density is only about 4 lakhs.
Yes,
so anything that matters in the politics of this country
is in terms of people.
Is in terms of people. How much of a credibility that particular place has in your polity. So that is what has happened. And in case of between Jammu and Kashmir as well, so there's kind of discrimination, a historical discrimination that had been created over the years, because the number of assembly constituencies, the districts, are more in Kashmir than in Jammu, whereas the population density is almost similar. So that has given edge to Kashmir in the politics of J&K, or even in the public discourse. So everything in the social media, in the media, is all about Kashmir, and Jammu is forgotten. It's just like I write in the book.
It is just not there.
Yeah. So it's just a transit camp it had been a transit camp for, say, going to Katra for Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine, or going to Kashmir. That it should not be.
So what about the people of these three divisions? Like, how are they taking this?
See, the people of Kashmir, of course, they are still under lockdowns. We don't really know how they are going to take it. So there is some trust building exercises that must be taking place as we speak. The people of Jammu are excited about it, and people of Ladakh are just too happy about it. They have gotten a whole place to themselves. So yes, of course, Jammu is very happy about it.
So when you started writing about the battle ahead, till then, I'm sure this thing hadn't happened.
Yes.
So what were you thinking when you thought of writing this book?
It was actually not a planned effort. It just happened because there is so much of hype about Article 370 in the media. And every time you hear the voices of Kashmir. You don't hear the voices of people of Jammu. So when you are hearing the voices on the TV channels, there are different political parties who are just expressing their views. There's not much voice from the people per se. So I just wanted to be that voice maybe. And I think this is a call of repressed psychosis, maybe, which you don't really understand till you start, delving
Coming
deep
out
into
with
it.
it, yeah.
So it was a call, and I just started writing, a love story, and then the things started happening, and then I started researching. I went into the history, I went into the different books written about it, and it was quite an awakening for me. It was more of understanding of the situation, and it has taken so long. So we cannot expect an 18 years old or a 20 years old to understand those things until and unless they are being told the right things, until and unless they are being made aware of it. So I think awareness is very important. So that is only going to happen through the mediums.
So how long did it take you to work on this book, the research and everything, like final outcome?
It took me about about 5 to 6 months.
Okay, that's quick to
That-
say.
Yeah, is it? Okay. Yeah, that took me about 5 to 6 months, but then by the time it was to be published, the law was abrogated. So I had to rework on the first chapter to make it into a flashback. Because certainly, I think the book came into publishing on about 10th of, when we started working, 10th of August. And the law was abrogated on 5th. So those 4 or 5 days I took to rework the end and rework the first chapter.
So did that bring any change in the story?
No, it did not bring any change. It just went into a flashback.
Okay.
So the book was already ready, so it had to be out. So I had to just bring it into a flashback. So initially the story started from, the year 2012 when Srishti got into college. And then there are a lot of those flashbacks in her life and things like that. So, but once the article was abrogated, I had to rework that.
Okay. So there's this section in the book where the girl has family issues within her family. You want to tell our readers about that?
No, I would not. That should come as a surprise because it is going to just...
Because I am curious to know, like, what were you thinking when you thought of that part?
So it just comes. You don't plan. I'm not a methodical writer. I am, I don't do any kind of a pre-preparation when I get into a story. For me, the story flows.
Okay.
The protagonist is just working. She's living her life. And the story goes as she lives. So it is something which is very natural. It just comes. I can't even explain that.
That is the one major twist in the book.
Yeah, because that's major twist. Yes, but then no, that part itself was there in my mind.
Tell the readers about what that part is, but you should know that it is a major twist.
It's a major twist. It is a major twist. It changed her life, changed the lives of many people around her.
So, what are your expectations for this book? What do you think? How is it doing? What do you think people in J&K and Ladakh would react to this? How would they take it?
I think everybody should take it with a lot of positivity. There's a lot of positivity in the book because there are no villains in the book, right? So yeah, so I think people should accept it, and there is a lot of insight into a lot of events people do not think about in a normal course of life. So this encourages you to think deeper than just the political repercussions of abrogation or the act being there. There is a whole lot of people in the state or in your vicinity who are facing the music of it. So you have to understand their sensibilities, and it's not just about the girls over there. It's more about the West Pakistan refugees. We have heard so much about. When I was writing, and after so many years into my life, I hadn't really known what actually West Pakistan refugees meant. I thought West Pakistan refugees must be the western part of the Pakistan. But while I was doing my research, and I'm sure a lot of people might not be knowing that, West Pakistan, I found out that it was, the Pakistan at that time was called West Pakistan, because the East Pakistan was Bangladesh. Yeah, So you find out about these things, and really it's something that everybody is supposed
It
to
adds to
know.
information, yeah.
Yeah. So that is what you understand. Then there are Kashmiri Pandit refugees. So I went into that. Small part is there. The way they had been projected in the media, into the political scenario. So what we hear about them, like I write, they had been an adjective of misery for so many days, so many years, 30 years now. So what have anybody done for them so far? Almost nothing. Next to nothing. Most of them have made out on by themselves, because theirs has been a very educated class. So they are into the private sector, they are into educational sectors, and wherever they could fit in, they have fitted in. But there are a whole lot of them, about I think 4,500 families who are still stuck, who are not able to get somewhere and move on because they didn't have the means. So nobody has done much for them so far. So those were the people who had been affected by it. So, and Jammu being a place which is supposed to be, all around the year available for business, has never been developed into a business hub. Yeah, because the focus had always been on Kashmir. Everything needs to be done, it has to be done in Kashmir. But in fact, nothing has been done there as well. If something was done there, the problem wouldn't have been there. The people would not have, been exploited the way they are. They wouldn't have felt this alienated. So there had been a lot of, I think, what do you call it? A political misgiving. A rift has been consciously created between all the regions of the state. And everybody's assumed to believe that the other part of the state is getting a better, facility or a better resource availability. Yeah. So there is a conscious effort to break down the state in terms of reaping political advantages at times. So I think those are the things which should be discussed in today's day and age. So I don't know how far this book would go in doing that, but I guess the discussion should start.
The discussion should start. That's what we want to start from. So I'm just curious to know, like, you have come out of the state and you are in Gurgaon for a long time now. So when you tell people that you are from J&K, do you notice any change, like a change of expression in them?
Yeah, so initially it's always, oh, you're from Kashmir, so which is actually a little disturbing, because no, I'm not from Kashmir, I'm from Jammu. Yes, it's a part of Jammu and Kashmir. So yes, you have to remind them again, which is, I think, kind of disturbing. And yes, then they want to know about what is happening over there in the state. And of course, because being from J&K
and coming from the horse's mouth, of course, they want to know.
Yeah, so I am aware, I am politically aware of situations happening there. I am socially aware about the things which are happening there. I keep myself abreast. Yes, the discussions are always there. But then, yeah.
So what happens in these discussions when you talk about Jammu and Kashmir? Like, I'm sure everybody has an opinion about Kashmir. They may not know what the backdrop is or what is there in depth, but then everybody they just want to say something about Kashmir.
Right.
So how do you take that? I mean, are you happy talking about that? Or
I am very happy talking about it. At least I can talk about it. It's my home state, so I love to talk about it. And of course, like everyone has an opinion, I do have an opinion about it. So a lot of people want to know about Kashmir. But then my emphasis is always about, it's not about Kashmir, it is about Jammu and Kashmir. And of course there is Ladakh too. So insurgency in Kashmir has not only troubled the state or troubled the place, troubled Jammu itself. It has brought down the economy, it's brought down the prospects of the state at large. The regions of the state which are equally beautiful as Kashmir is, like the valley of Punch where she travels to. So, and there are other regions of Doda and Bhadrava. These are beautiful places, but they have never been explored. They have never been developed into tourist destination. So that is something that needs to be brought about. That is a change that needs to be brought about by the government efforts to develop the entire state. If the state has been developed holistically, like in the Himachal has been, it is done in Himachal, it is done in Uttarakhand. So if the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir was developed that way, probably this problem wouldn't have been there. So this talk about discrimination erupts because of these lack of efforts on part of the various governments.
So now that we know what the book is about, and I'm sure it will do well, because it is so in tandem with the present times and the present topic and what the country is going through. So I want to know what led you to us, what led you to Invincible to select us to bring this book out from?
So I was in talks with a couple of publishing houses, and the first thing was it was approachable. I got a call back very quickly, and I think in every relationship, the most important thing is the communication. So if we are communicating, we can make things work, and I think it happens way better with Invincible than I could have done with anybody else, because every time I make a call, it's been attended to. Every time I make a query, it's been attended to. We don't know what the fate of the book is going to be or how it is going to fare in the market. But I think my journey that has begun with Invincible has begun on a very good footing. I think it's a very good start. As of now, I think that looks as good as it is.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So let's hope the book will do well, and it solves the purpose that it came out for,
sure.
and the cause that you have. I'm just very hopeful with this. So thank you so much, and
Thank you
good
so
luck to you with your book.
Thank you. Thank you.